YouTube Ozzico, the Goat House is back, and we're getting closer to that November 2nd NFL trade deadline. Today, I'm going to go through every single NFL team, give you a realistic move that I think that team should make and can make. Again, not predicting all these. We'll see some of the same players pop up because they're rumored to be on the move. There's some I feel good about the fits, about it happening. But some teams will have a move in terms of trading a player away. That's the move I think they should make. Or some teams trading for a player. We'll talk about the value, of my opinion, of those players as well. So really excited about this. And we have a recent trade deadline video with candidates, landing spots, predictions. That's up. More trade deadline videos to come. We got weekly predictions for every game, score predictions, power rankings, update that every single week, cover the NFL draft as well. Full NFL coverage here, so join us, like, subscribe, turn notifications on, be much appreciated. We also have a Twitter with a lot of NFL talk, NFL updates on there, keeping you guys involved with a lot of different things as well. Any updates during the trade deadline, we got you right away as it happens, so check it out, link down below for that. Here's our Twitter, @GrossNFL. Week 7 updates right here, and we'll talk during live games, of course, as well. It's a good reason to follow our Twitter, link down below. First one, start with the AFC East, the Patriots. Kyle Fuller is might be the guy that pops up the most in this video here because I feel pretty good about him possibly getting traded. One. Number two, about half the league, maybe more, needs a cornerback, and they would like a solid cornerback, no project, nothing like that. And since that many teams, all those teams need a corner, there's not enough to go around. There's a shortage on available ones, so I think there's gonna be a fight. I think there's gonna be maybe a bidding war, a little bit of one. Broncos might be losing leverage to be like, okay, we're benching you now, we're putting Darby in, you sit over there. That might hurt them a little bit. But I think there's going to be somewhat of a fight here for Kyle Fuller, a solid veteran corner here that actually could be available. The Patriots definitely can use another one. J.C. Jackson kind of carrying the bunch. Jalen Mills, all right, he's a little hit or miss. We thought, Patriots are going to get Stephon Gilmore back, and then they're going to be all set. They end up trading him. Feels like they can use another corner. Don't have the depth, really. Let's make Mills into depth, perhaps. That'd be more ideal. Patriots could be looking to add another receiver. I thought about a guy like Brandon Cooks for them, but Kyle Fuller made sense. I think they would like to have him. I think around a 4th-round pick. Maybe the value's dropping a little bit because they're sitting him on the bench all of a sudden when Darby came back, but could be several teams interested. Like I said, we're going to have Fuller pop up in this video a few times. I think there's a few teams that should look into trading Kyle Fuller. Patriots are one of them. And here we go. Right off, it's a Kyle Fuller video to start, but we're going through 30 more NFL teams with a bunch of different scenarios here. Kyle Fuller to the Bills. The Bills don't really have much needs at all. Thought about tight end because Dawson Knox is hurt. Broke his hand, broke a bone in his hand. Could miss some time. He's been pretty damn good for them, too. So they could use another one. What is out there, though? They were linked to Ertz. That didn't happen. Went to the Cardinals. Not a lot out there. Maybe some under-the-radar names. Maybe a guy like Hollister who the Bills had, but that's a late round. Maybe it's a pick swap even. Maybe a late-round pick. They might be a team like, hey, we might be a stud corner away from being even better of a defense. Even though Levi Wallace has been solid so far, add another corner like this. It'd be worth it for the Bills, a team that's contending a bit. I know Fuller would be a rental for pretty much any team unless they decided to extend him. But, the Bills with not too many needs here. They're definitely not sellers. They are buyers or nothing at the trade deadline because they're very good, because they're a contender. But, yeah, Fuller is definitely an interesting name here as we get close to the trade deadline. Jets got to be sellers. I look at Jamison Crowder. The Jets got a number of solid young receivers. They could afford to ship one out. I think teams could be interesting. I'm thinking the value could be 4th round pick, maybe a 5th plus a 7th, somewhere around there. Be pretty good for the Jets. Maybe more than what they would get in a future compensatory pick if they lost him in free agency. I think that makes sense. Let him go play for a contender. There was a little bit of rumors about Crowder in the recent past about moving on here. That would make sense. I heard a little bit of rumblings about maybe the Jets moving on to some of their offensive linemen. Guy like Morgan Moses. I don't know about that. You take him out, then Zach Wilson gets killed even more. So I don't know if that makes sense. How much will teams pay for? Yeah, teams looking for offensive linemen. Marcus May is a big one. Maybe people thought I was going to put Marcus May up here, trade him, but It's interesting. There's been some talk throughout the offseason and up till now that they're gonna move on from him. He wants out. Wait, no, he doesn't. They want to extend him. They like him. He likes the Jets. Wait, no, he's not happy. It's kind of back and forth. It's all over the place right now. I think a recent quote was he wants to play for the Jets and he knows they want him. Something like that. But things need to happen. So Marcus May is a name to watch. We've discussed that in the past, recent past. It is a name to watch. Do I think the Jets should trade him, though? I don't know, because this is kind of a realistic should make these moves type of video here. I'm not a big fan of trading him unless you get the correct value. He struggled a little bit this year, maybe, if you want to put it that way. Last year was fantastic, though. I don't know if they would get the value back that they should for me to like them trading him. Third round would be the worst, maybe. It's tough. The teams that need a safety don't have a lot of cap space at all, so it's really tricky for me to see Marcus May dealt, even though he's kind of a hot name, and he definitely can be. But Crowder would make sense. Get a good pick back. Again, could be fourth. I got a fifth up there, but I'm thinking it could be fourth, actually. That's interesting to think about. Definitely an interesting name to watch, for sure. I think it's possible. Dolphins, I think they should be sellers. You probably thought I would throw Deshaun Watson up here. I'm a little hesitant with that. Should the Dolphins trade for Deshaun Watson? It feels like they need a lot more than what we once thought. There's more problems than just quarterback right now. It's really all over the team, and there's a scenario where I like them trading for Watson because, yes, there could be more of a bidding war in the offseason. The price could be driven up. They may spend more then than now, possibly. But with all the needs you have, you don't even have your first-round pick. You have the 49ers' first-round pick. And what the Texans are asking for, 3 1s and 2 or 3 2s, we'll call it somewhere in there. I don't know if I'd love it for the Dolphins. I mean, you just got Deshaun Watson, so yeah, I think you kind of almost forced to like it. But I don't know. I don't know about that one. It depends on what the details are. I think they should be sellers. I think they can get on a streak at any given time, and maybe it's a long shot, I guess, at this point, make a push for the wild card spot. But again, not likely. But they showed they could do it last year, at some point. But I think they should be sellers. Emmanuel Ogbah, who they like, he was very good last year. He's a very solid player. I'm not predicting this to happen. If you told me do I actually think they will trade him? My money would probably be on no, but I do think it's realistic. Otherwise, I wouldn't have put it up here. But it makes sense to me because Ogbah is about to be a free agent. I kind of smell a little bit of an overpay or asking for an overpay here. I guess it depends on what he does the rest of this year. He's very good last year. His one and only good year. And I still think he can be solid. I still think he play like that. He's been okay this year. Are they going to overpay him? I think it's sometimes you have an idea with your upcoming free agent by now. Sometimes, not always, not even close to always. But are we going to be able to re-sign him? What's the price tag going to be? This one's tricky. I don't know if the Dolphins know right now. I think there might be a back and forth. Some other team might swoop in and take him. Do you get what kind of compensatory pick do you get back in the year after? 4th, 5th? I think his value is higher right now, even though it could be a rental for teams. Teams are desperate. Contenders are desperate for a solid defensive end like this. So I think you can pull a 3rd round, maybe a 4th, but I think you can pull that 3rd. And I think that's pretty good for the Dolphins, needing more picks because they had a little more holes than we thought. It wasn't good that they don't have their own first, but they got the Niners first instead. But if you get more picks, it feels a little better, right? So it made sense to me. Guy like Devontae Parker, possibility, but they could use the receivers right now. What if Tua ends up being traded away if they bring in Deshaun Watson? There's a lot of scenarios. Xavier Howard, I don't think they should trade Xavier Howard. Byron Jones, an interesting one. I thought about that. Should they trade him away? Are they spending too much at corner? But that type of defense, you really got to value corner. There's not too many defenses where corners valued higher than pass rusher, but I think that's one of them. At any given time, they can change that, though. So I thought about that. This one just made sense to me. Dolphins are a very, very intriguing team to watch at the trade deadline. It's really nothing to do with Emmanuel Ogbah, obviously. Washington, interesting. This is a guy I'm going to bring up again here in a little bit, actually. Zach Cunningham. Spectacular season last year. I mean, big time. It felt like a franchise piece to the Houston Texans. This year, struggled a little bit here and there. The Texans are huge sellers. They're going to sell some players, but I haven't heard anything about them selling Cunningham. But I'm not going to rule it out, actually, because he hasn't played as well as he did with the last coaching staff. Maybe that plays a part. So we'll see. It could be interesting. I'd say 2nd round pick. A 3rd round pick I think would be incredible value for. I could see it, but I think it would be a more, I would grade it better for the team getting Zach Cunningham rather than the Texans in a third, but it's possible. Washington football team, buyers or sellers, tough to figure out here. Could definitely be either, could stay put and do nothing at the trade deadline. Could they trade for Deshaun Watson? I think can they afford to trade a bunch of first-round picks and some? I don't know. I don't really feel like they could afford that right now. That's me right now, but they would be a lot better. They would be a lot better with Deshaun Watson. But I think, it's all said and done. Let's get down to it. This defense needs to be better. This is supposed to be the identity of the team. It needs to be better. They're struggling at the linebacker position, right in the middle of that defense. Like, they could stop the run sometimes because they got a good defensive line. When the ball gets to the linebackers, they struggle. Coverage, yeah, I guess some of the guys in terms of DBs have been a little underwhelming, but they got some guys that can cover. When the linebackers got to cover, they struggle. The middle of the defense, the heart of the defense is struggling. It's letting them down. Bostic got hurt. That played a part. I think I would look out for Washington actually making a deal or bringing in some kind of linebacker for trade deadline. I'm not saying it's Zach Cunningham. This is one I think they should really look into because, could it be a guy like Mac Wilson, from the Browns? Could it be random Nick Vigil from the Vikings? Just random guys like that. Could it be possible? Could help them slightly. It's a maybe help them. Let's get a guy that's for sure going to help here. So maybe fans wouldn't want it. I'm a little second round pick. Is that a little rich? Thirds, I think, is a steal. So it's kind of right in there. Maybe a third and a fifth, something like that. It would make sense for me for Washington. I think kind of just get that defense back to where even close to where it should be, because it's not even close right now, because that's supposed to be that team's identity. So thought that was an interesting one there. I think that they're definitely in the market for a linebacker. They were trying to get Jalen Smith, remember. Packers land him instead. Giants, how about Jabril Peppers here? It's possibility. I haven't heard anything on this, but I think it's a possibility because you look at who they've played at safety. Jabril Peppers is third in snaps. Third, actually. Logan Ryan, who does play a bit everywhere. They like to use 3 safeties in a game, sure. And Xavier McKinney's actually second snaps more than Jabril Peppers. I know Peppers missed a game, but still a good amount with those two guys over Peppers in terms of the snap counts. And McKinney they like. They're even if they didn't like, they'd probably force him in there because he was like a high draft pick a couple years ago or early second round. So they like those guys, and they also have Julian Love right behind Peppers, and they like him as well. So they got that next guy up too, and Peppers. On top of all that, Pepper's going to be a free agent, so do you want to get something for him? I don't know if it's a guy. He doesn't fit. There's only a handful. He can play. He's solid. There's only a handful of defenses he actually fits, So I don't know if the people are going to throw money at him. So what compensatory pick would the Giants get? I think it'd be lower than a fourth, and that's a year after. So getting a pick like a fourth-round pick right now would make a lot of sense to me. And they got to be sellers. I worry a little bit because Gettleman's probably close to losing his job, where he kind of he's a buyer. He brings in guys to try to save the season, save his job. I worry about that. That would be he's already done enough to the organization, so I worry about that a bit. Peppers would make sense though. Upcoming free agent here. Back to Zach Cunningham. I said he would pop up again. I would like it for the Cowboys. Cowboys could be in the market for maybe a depth corner, interior defensive lineman. I know they have Odigizua, Gallimore should be coming back here, but they did let go of Jalen Smith. Remember, they were okay with letting go of Jalen Smith. He wasn't playing well. They were okay with it. They didn't really want to do it right now. They wanted him to waive his guarantees next year, and he wouldn't do it. So that that they cut him to waive him then that way for next year. So. They could use another guy in there because Van Der Esch, solid, but they need a guy playing next to him off the ball. Parsons is just much better as a edge guy, but maybe he'll play a little more off the ball when DeMarcus Lawrence is good and ready to go. That's a possibility. Keanu Neal has a little bit of injury concern there. So just getting a true inside linebacker. Cunningham is just a beautiful fit, I think. I think this would up the Cowboys. Cowboys defense has been upped a notch this year. I think this would up it even more. I think a fantastic fit, actually, right in the inside there. So, don't bank on the Cowboys to do something like this, but this would be fantastic for them. It makes sense to me. Jerry Jones did say something like they're always open for business for the trade deadline. So not a whole lot of meaning around that. So we'll see. I just really like the fit there, and it just really depends on how much of a seller the Texans will be. We know they'll be big time sellers. How big? This would be huge. Eagles, I think they should trade Derek Barnett, and they might actually not because Brandon Graham's hurt, and they kind of need the defensive end in there. But and they might be pushing to win games this year, which I can't blame them for trying to win games, of course. But it's a team that's not going to win anything this year. All right, they're not going to win anything. Everybody wants to win a Super Bowl. They're not going to do that this year. Derek Barnett's going to be a free agent. I don't think you can pull. I don't know if they really want to extend him. Because Brandon Graham will be back. They just used a lot of money on Josh Sweat. Not an insane amount of money, but a good amount of money on Josh Sweat. They got quite a few other pieces in there, of course. And Barnett, I think you can get better value than you would think right now. The 4th round pick, if it's a fit, that maybe you pass. If they can get a 4th, which I think they can, there's a lot of contending teams desperate for that defensive end. I think they should take it. Because I really don't think they're going to extend him. Maybe I'm wrong. They could. I get definitely more of an idea, an accurate prediction in the offseason for that. But, in what compensatory pick would you get back? I don't think you'd get anything near a 4th, So I think it would be smart of them to deal Barnett here, near the deadline. Everyone, probably always wants their teams to be buyers. Who could they add? It's tough to figure out if the Eagles would actually add somebody. Like, what position group would it be? Because they use another corner. It's tough to figure out right now. Really, their play calling just got to be better. That's just what it is. Ravens, how about Ronald Jones' name? Has popped up a little bit. Some teams have called the Buccaneers about Ronald Jones, and they didn't say who. We know who's calling about Marlon Mack. The Ravens are actually not one of the teams so far on Marlon Mack, but they could be at any given time. But it kind of makes sense. Marlon Mack's success hasn't really been the type of running schemes that the Ravens run, but it's a possibility there. Ronald Jones, I would love Ronald Jones. I actually thought about Mark Ingram, because the Texans are going to be selling those running backs, but would they deal him back? It'd be pretty wild. I would really like Ronald Jones and the Ravens. The tricky part here, it's a good guy to include in this video because we know for sure teams have called about Ronald Jones. We know this is a possible candidate because of that. But the tricky part is, can we match the value here? The Bucs are trying to win now. They're really not going to get rid of anybody unless they like the pick. So I don't know if they would actually give Ronald Jones away for that 5th. It might have to be a 4th. Would a team like the Ravens do that? I would like him a lot on the Ravens. So it's definitely, I think, a good fit. He's a name that's out there in terms of trade deadline. So definitely interesting. Ravens could be looking for a corner, even an inside linebacker. Their play hasn't been good at that position. Actually, their play was better last week against the Chargers. Patrick Queen got hurt. He's been struggling. Their play was better with a guy like Josh Bynes. So who knows what they're going to do there. But they haven't been playing. The starters haven't really been playing overly well at that position. Could use offensive linemen. Very much a shortage on available offensive linemen. And then could use that running back, of course. I like Ronald Jones. We'll see what happens. I'm curious to see which teams have been calling about him. I'd say the Ravens are probably one. It's just, are they going to be able to match the Bucs' value, like what they want? Do they even want to deal him? Browns, we talked about Jamison Crowder for the Jets. I think they should actually trade him. I would like Jamison Crowder for the Browns. Browns pretty beat up at the receiver position. Last game, which actually was just last night, Thursday Night Football, Odell and Jarvis Landry played. They both got hurt within the game. OBJ did come back. He just doesn't seem right to me. Jarvis Landry got hurt towards the end. Crowder's another similar Jarvis Landry type receiver, in my opinion. And just kind of the guys that work. You can go out and get, and Donovan Peoples-Jones was hurt for last night's game as well. You can go out and get a type of guy you don't have, like a Brandon Cooks that could be available, but does that really fit your team? I think a guy like Crowder, makes sense. A guy that can get open pretty much anywhere on the field, drag across the field, underneath, intermediate routes, whatever it may be. I think perfect for those play action rollouts. So that made sense to me. And it's a team that can, if they're healthy, they're going to get healthy at some point. They're trying to win right now. So I think go get a guy like Crowder, could potentially take a 4th round pick, would make sense to me here. And it's definitely a potential, a guy that could be traded realistically. Steelers, I really wanted to put Deshaun Watson up here. I would love for the Steelers should trade for Deshaun Watson. Because they would be a contender with him. They're just lacking at the quarterback position right now. It's hard to say that against a future Hall of Famer, Big Ben Roethlisberger there, but I think they should do it. They have cap space for the future to make other signings on top of Deshaun Watson and free agency. They won't really need the draft picks. If they, I know they traded away a lot of picks, but those are day 3s. I think they should do it. I just don't think it happens. I think they they might be a little afraid here, and I could be wrong because it makes too much sense in the world for them to do this here. It works, like I said. But I think they want to imagine if they brought Watson in, with Big Ben there. Hey, Big Ben, you're done. You're on the bench. That wouldn't be good, but it would be good for the field. You can't be afraid to hurt people's feelings, but people are. People are afraid to do that. So they're not going to do it, and that's unfortunate because they're going to go from a team that's probably, a lot of people predict them to just miss the playoffs to a legit Super Bowl contender if they did it. So that's why, there's one goal here. So that's my take on that. Hard to figure out what they would do. They need linemen. There was rumors about Andre Dillard being, possibly available just because teams were calling. He's been playing for the Eagles recently because of the situation with Lane Johnson. But this is a guy I think the Steelers would definitely be interested in. Value be a third. It's another one of those tricky ones where can it match up? The Steelers would be willing to give up a third for Andre Dillard. Would the Eagles be willing to do that? Eagles would probably not. They'd probably be willing to do it for a second. I don't think the Steelers would, team or any team. So it's kind of that tricky spot. I would like to fit. I think the Steelers can get the most out of him there, and that would improve their offensive line. They could be in the market for a corner. We talk about Joe Hayden, too. Joe Hayden said he may test the market. He's likely to test the market in the offseason, so something going to go on with him. I don't see them dealing him because they need corners as it is. Could they add a corner? A veteran guy like Fuller, is he a fit? You question that, and they can make it work. I just don't love the fit like some of the other teams they have up here. So it's an interesting situation for the Steelers. They really don't have a whole lot of needs. They just need offense. They need a quarterback. They need an offensive line. They've got big needs. Not a lot, but big needs there, and they can get by with everything else there. So. That's a tough part for the Steelers here, so it'll be interesting to see if they make any big move or anything. Bengals, Damon Arnett, the Raiders, it's pretty clear they don't like him. He's playing less and less. He did get hurt a couple weeks ago as a minor injury, so I think he'll be good. But the Bengals really look good. They look like a pretty balanced roster, too. They could use offensive line. They're playing a lot better, though. Is there somebody out there for them? I don't really see it. Maybe a depth guy. The only thing they really could use is a corner right now. And sure, if they went out and got a guy like Kyle Fuller or one of the polished guys, they would be a lot better right now. That would be a rental. I don't know if the Bengals should be in the business of trading a pretty valuable pick, I'd say, because they've been drafting well and they're still that young team. Like they're good. They can make the playoffs this year. Are they really going to win something major though? Bring Damon Arnett back home, maybe. A guy that can help them now by adding a corner because they can just use another guy, whether it's depth right away or not, and a guy that can be part of the future as well. And his value might be at an all-time low right now. So I think that would make sense for the Bengals. People probably want more of a high-profile corner. Is it a smart thing? If they can get a steal on a guy like that, then sure. But I like the way they've been drafting. Should they give up a valuable pick? For a veteran guy when they got a lot of young guys that are balling out right now. I don't know if that makes a whole lot of sense. Lions trade Charles Harris here, and really, they don't have a lot of options here. They're not buyers. They're not going to trade for somebody. They don't really have a lot of options to trade away. Great if you could trade Trey Flowers. You're just not going to be able to do that, all right? So Charles Harris, surprisingly, actually has value right now, and that's kind of rare. So I think take what you can get here. Harris has been playing pretty decent, actually. But is he, do you want to go into a season, the perfect season? You want to have a perfect roster for a perfect season. Everybody does. Is that your starting edge rusher, going into the season? Likely not. So I think take what you can get from him because usually his value is absolutely nothing. So I think it could be, a team's desperate, maybe a 6th-round pick here. So, it makes sense. Not a lot of options for the Lions in this video. Bears trade Akeem Hicks. That's kind of a bold statement that I think they should do that because he's such a key piece to that defense. So much better with him in there when he's out. Not so much. The Bears are another team. They've been playing pretty good, minus last week. They've been playing pretty good. They could fight for a wild card spot, but are they going to go win the Super Bowl? No, they're not. Akeem Hicks is going to be a free agent. He wants an extension. I don't think the Bears are going to give it to him. I think that's pretty clear right now. I don't think they're going to give it to him. They want to save money to spend money on offense. I think it's been said, and it's pretty damn clear. I'm not going to say 0% chance they keep Hicks and extend Hicks. I think it's a possibility. But there's teams that are definitely somebody might even offer a 2nd-round pick for him. I'm going to say a 3rd just because he has a little bit of injury concern, and he might be a rental. You got to extend him. But I think he's going to get less money in the open market than because you see how talented he is. You could take his talent right now, today, to what he'll get in the open market. I don't think they'll match. I think he'll get less, actually. I think he'll get a lot less. Therefore, the Bears in another year would get a compensatory pick that I don't think, it might be a 5th-round pick. So if they are going to extend him because they want to save money on offense, get a pick back. You trade your 1st-round pick as well. Get a pick back here. So that would make sense to me. He's also been, he's good to miss a few games a year too. So, I mean, I would make this business decision here and trade him away. We talk about Allen Robinson because he's on the franchise tag. Do you trade him? Because if you're not going to extend him, he hasn't really been doing much. I don't see that. They still want to test, see if he works with Justin Fields. I think they would like to extend him as well. Again, they want to spend that money on offense. They tried to get Trent Williams, a big-time left tackle that cost a lot of money. They tried to get him, and they tried to get Kenny Golladay, a receiver that cost a lot of money. It's very clear they want to spend a lot of money on offense, and they're going to continue to try that to build around Justin Fields. So we'll see. Vikings, there goes Kyle Fuller again. Not really a lot of options for the Vikings. Patrick Peterson's been playing pretty well, but he got hurt. He's going to miss at least 3 games. The other corner's been a little – Breeland's been inconsistent. He had a good game last week, been up and down. Dancer's been struggling a little bit. So they could use a veteran corner. I think Fuller fits their defensive scheme as well. They used to play against him a lot, 2 times a year when he was on the Bears. So then the Vikings could be in on a guy like that. That kind of makes sense to me. I don't think they'll be sellers. It's not really a guy they can trade away. Barr came in and took over for Vigil, and Vigil actually looked pretty good. So will somebody offer something for Vigil possibly? The Vikings probably would like to keep him in case of Barr injury, and they still play Vigil with Kendricks and Barr. They can be looking for a veteran corner here. I think it's a possibility. Once again, we'll talk about the Packers. The Packers were actually in on Stephon Gilmore. I don't think they felt good about him coming back from the injury and him needing an insane amount of money. I don't think they felt good about that. And I don't think Fuller is worried about his contract or anything right now. So I think the Packers would be good with the rental, just a rental. He's healthy. I think he fits their scheme as well. They're going to run a good mixture of zone coverage, and I really like him in cover 2, which we saw Eric Stokes thriving in. Jair Alexander's hurt, so adding our veteran corner like this, the Packers seem more aggressive right now too. I like that. They were trying to get a corner like Gilmore. It didn't happen. They're going to be looking here. They're going to be looking. They have just enough space, enough wiggle room to make something like this happen as well. They actually got more than most teams. So this made sense to me. Division rivals, Vikings, Packers, made sense for Kyle Fuller. And Kyle Fuller popped up in this video a bit because it's a realistic trade candidate, and I think there would be several teams. I can guarantee you several teams are interested. They're already calling about him. Guarantee it. We can't guarantee a trade, but it looks likely. Colts, Jabril Peppers talking about the Giants. The Giants could move on from him, and the Colts they might have to clear a little bit more space here to make this happen. But Julian Blackmon, who I've been a huge fan of his game since he was a rookie last year, he just got hurt. He's out for the season. Got hurt in practice, so that's unfortunate. Kari Willis has been, I guess, up and down. He struggled a little bit this year, but you need a guy to pair with him. I think Peppers would be good in that split safety scheme there. And then for the future, what about for the future though? Is Peppers going to be a rental? I think they can sign him long term. I really think Blackmon and Peppers could be the guys of the future. I think it's a possibility. The Colts seem to, I guess not with Wentz, but they hesitate to make moves like this, so that's tough. Could the Colts, because they have picks on the line with Wentz going away, could they be sellers? Who do they have to sell? It's very tricky to figure out. I know people are saying the Colts need a corner. They're getting a little healthier now, but what corner they're going to go out and get. I don't see them going out and landing Fuller. It's a possibility, but Peppers kind of made sense. They kind of got a hole there in their secondary now that Blackmon's out. It's a pretty important spot because a lot of split safety, a lot of covering over the top of corners and cover 2. So I think it's pretty damn important to go out there and look for a guy. I would like Marcus May even more from the Jets. They just can't afford him. They have no cap space. They cleared a little bit. They cleared a little bit earlier this week by restructuring, not a pay cut, but a restructure to T.Y. Hilton's contract, and that cleared some space. So they kind of feels like maybe they're doing something. They didn't clear a lot of space though, because they didn't have that much. But we'll see. Interesting. Titans, Xavier Howard. Maybe this high profile of a guy. I mean, Deshaun Watson's more high profile, and I think a lot of us expect him to get traded at some point at least, but maybe not as likely. I just think this makes a lot of sense here. For the Titans to afford him, they'll probably have to wait till right in the week of the trade deadline. If they did this now, they definitely would not be afford him. And even then, they may have to make one move, maybe one restructure. I think very doable if they trade for him the deadline week. Would make sense. This makes sense to me. I mean, the Titans are thin at corner, like every team. But Titans have not been drafting well in the first round. They haven't been drafting well in general, actually, the last 2 years. Before that, I've really liked their drafts. But you might as well use your pick on Xavier Howard, a proven stud corner here that they would like. They got Fulton that's hurt, Caleb Farley that, hurt. I guess he's only 1 year in the NFL, but we can say again, it makes sense to me. You get your corner for now to help you compete now and for the future. They can make it work. Not a lot of teams can make it work cap wise. Titans it'd be very tough it wouldn't be easy, I should say, to do it, but I think they can make it work. Will the Dolphins want to deal him? There's still some talk that it's a possibility. Maybe they trade one of Howard or Byron Jones, and maybe none of them. It's possible. It's very possible. It's neither. The Dolphins don't make a move at all. So. I would like for the Titans. This makes sense to me for every reason I explained. For the Titans to go do this, I think it's something they would be interested in. That's why I put it up here. I think it's realistic. I think Titans probably already made that call. Does it actually happen? A lot has to happen for it to happen. They could be in the market for a guy like Kyle Fuller. We talked about him for quite a few teams there. It's a possibility. Looks like they could use a corner right now. I thought receiver too because I'm not worried about A.J. Brown, but Julio Jones coming off the field hurt, going to miss some games. A guy like Jamison Crowder, I thought made sense. We had him for the Browns in this video. I thought that made sense. A guy like Crowder, get another guy that just gets open, good with play action coming across the field. I thought that made sense. I really thought about that one. Just Howard's makes so much sense to me, but will it actually happen? That's the other question. Jags didn't have one. I'm looking through their roster here, and they're not going to be buyers. They're not going to trade away picks, I don't think, for anybody. Hollister sitting there when they have Dan Arnold. There's teams that are actually pretty desperate for a tight end right now. Doesn't hold that much value, but trade him away. Actually a name that came up, and we'll talk about him actually again in a little bit. Clavon Chaison's coming up a little bit. I just don't think the Jaguars should trade him. I think it's possible they do. I don't think they should. I think he's got a future. He's another, like C.J. Henderson, he's a raw prospect. You can't expect a lot from this guy right away. It's one of those upside type prospects, but they gave up on C.J. Henderson. Could they give up on Chaisson here? So, interesting. But, I don't think they should make any major moves. There's some talk about offensive linemen, but if they trade those guys away, Lawrence going to get killed, because Cam Robinson's on a franchise tag. What's their plans on extending him or anything like that? Do they want a new left tackle? I don't know. I don't see any major. I don't think they should make any major moves here, but we'll see what they do. Texans trade Brandon Cooks. Brandon Cooks, a very solid receiver, could help them, now in the future. But this team is a big-time seller, and I think you should, you're not going to win anything now. I think you should trade Cooks, and his value is pretty good right now. What are you going to get out of him out of him next year? What are you going to get out of him when he's going to finally be a free agent? You're going to get a future compensatory draft pick. It's too long away. And it won't be nearly as much value. There's teams that need receivers. There's teams that could use Brandon Cooks and may be willing to trade that third or maybe a fourth round pick away. Texans need picks. They love picks. They want those picks. I think you go do it. It's a fantastic player that can help them, but you want to get younger. I talked about Zach Cunningham in this video. I haven't heard much on him. If they're big time sellers, could they deal him? I'd rather them keep him. That's me. I guess unless you get a second or better for him, I don't think you're going to get better. But, dealing those running backs, one or two of those running backs wouldn't hurt as well, or you can wait and get compensatory picks for those guys. But Cooks makes sense just because the value you can get back in return right now. Saints, Marlon Mack. Marlon Mack was first rumored that the Chiefs called about him. Well, first rumored that Marlon Mack and the Colts have agreed to kind of seek for a trade here because he wants to be a starter, kind of earn more of his contract for his future contract, whatever he get paid. Then it came out the Chiefs made that call, and then it came out that, and then we made a video, and I had his landing spots, a recent video I have up, and I had the Saints as one of those landing spots. It made sense to me, along with a couple other teams. And then it came out that which teams actually called about him. The Saints were one of them. The Chiefs were one of them. Of course, we already knew that. And I like Marlon Mack and the Saints. I thought about receiver here. Bring back Brandon Cooks, Jamison Crowder, another receiver that I like in these types of scenarios here for this trade deadline. But you're probably going to get Michael Thomas back soon. And if you add another running back, a good one, Kamara becomes kind of a receiver as well, and that opens things up underneath, and that's kind of why they want a running back. I know Tony Jones Jr. has been hurt, and you could get better in terms of your running back too at that spot. It makes all the sense in the world. I like Marlon Mack with their running style. I like him with their offensive line. I think he can run very well with them. I think it helps Kamara out a ton. It helps his offense out a ton. I like the fit. Could it take as much as a fourth? Maybe with some since there's a lot of teams calling, but I think since the Colts and Mack agreed to seek a trade, maybe that lose a little leverage. I think around a fifth makes sense. I'd like this for the Saints. Wouldn't be against adding another receiver, but they're going to get Michael Thomas back. Again, Kamara could become more of a receiver like we've seen in the past with an addition like Marlon Mack. That's what I love about this. The Bucs, and all it talks about corners because their corners are hurt. Richard Sherman hurt. They're going to get some guys back, though. You know, Sean Murphy-Bunting should be coming back. Very good in the slot. Also can play outside. And they can't really afford the pricier ones out there. So what's a project corner going to do them? You know, right now, not a whole lot, especially with getting some of those guys back. I look at linebacker. You know, Levante David out. Sure, he'll be back soon. Only a 2-year contract on top of it. Also has injury concern. You know, looking at earlier in his career, maybe like a few years ago, and injury right now. Could add another inside linebacker, and Mac Wilson's a guy that I've heard could be dealt. It's kind of cheap here. You know, it's good depth to have, and he could even play a lot right away with the injuries. But it's probably just good depth right now. And then you know, with this, it's a great defensive mind and Bowles over there, and with those players around him, Devin White, Levante David to learn. I think you know Wilson has that upside. So I think it's kind of a guy that they can kind of groom for the future. It kind of made sense to me. There's not a lot of obvious ones for the Buccaneers here, so that's kind of what I went with here. Not a lot of cap space, obviously spending a lot of money. I don't know, going back to Ronald Jones, you know, do they trade him? I don't know if they should be pounding. They definitely shouldn't be pounding the table to trade that guy unless they get some crazy value. So I know he's been brought up a bit. Panthers, I just went ahead and did it, you know, and you may say it's probably not happening. Matt Rule, I think yesterday said that Sam Darnold's their guy, and he said he, as in Matt Rule, isn't, you know, calling about Deshaun Watson, you know, could mean something else, but I'd say likely it won't happen. They were in on Watson well before the draft, actually, and then it kind of went away. I think they were a little scared about the off-the-field issues. And Watson actually came out and said, because a lot of teams he won't play for, he will play for the Panthers. He will play for the Panthers. And you know, it's not a high percentage, but I do think it's realistic. You know, they got to realize they are, and I've held off on Watson in this video. This is the only time I'm having Watson pop up in this video. I think the Dolphins are more than Watson away, even though they're very good. Washington, the Broncos, who we still got to talk about. The Eagles, we already talked about. Panthers, I think they become legit contenders with Deshaun Watson. I know they need a better offensive line, but Deshaun Watson's used to worse offensive lines than that. He can play through that. But Darnold's been holding them back. You know, they got the weapons out there. You know, even Hubbard's been playing well with McCaffrey out. The defense, it's a very solid defense. You know, a little bit of off week last week, maybe in the second half, but I love that defense. It's a fantastic defense. They are Deshaun Watson away from not only making the playoffs, maybe doing more damage, and they can pay him in the future. They're not afraid to make. That's another reason why I don't think it's too far off from realistic here. I think it is realistic. They're not afraid to get better. They're not afraid to make these moves, even though it sounds like they won't right now. And they definitely should do it. Darnold's not it. Watson would make them. They would make them real good, real good. So I think they should look into that for sure. I think they've already have. Falcons. We talked about Clavon Chase. I talked about a little bit with the Jaguars, and I didn't have him on the Jaguars slide that they should trade him and they should keep him, but. His name's popped up a little bit. He hasn't played a lot. He's played less and less. They're kind of using him as a hybrid player. I don't like that. I think he's an edge rusher. I think he fits the Falcons' new scheme. Dante Fowler just went on the IR a little bit ago before recording this, and they need another edge rusher on top of it. I love the fit of Chase Young. This would be fantastic if they trade a third-round pick for him. I think his value should be more because he's an upside prospect. Because he's been underwhelming so far doesn't mean he's bad. He's an upside prospect. He's got the traits, got the athleticism, you know. Will the Jags be willing to do this? I think they may. You know, they trade C.J. Henderson, I think who they had more value on for a third-round pick there with some other things involved. I think it makes sense. The Falcons are a weird team that you can't really figure out where they're at. Are they like a win-now team, or do they got to go rebuild? they're playing well right now. We'll see if they got to win against Dolphins this week, but last couple games they played well, I suppose, and they got pieces, some stud pieces that can help them win now. But they're kind of getting to the end of that where, they're not going to win a Super Bowl probably. And, we don't want to go to rebuild, though. So they're kind of caught in the middle. In this case, Chason adding another pass rusher helps them now, but he's also a future guy, too. So it kind of helps you both ways. So this one makes sense for the Jags. The Falcons. They could use a safety as well. Honestly, then they can benefit from adding another receiver. I don't know if they do that, though. Running back, but they like Patterson and Mike Davis. I like this one a lot. We'll see if the Jags actually would move on from Chason there. Broncos, I think the Broncos should trade Von Miller. I think they should trade him because he's about to be, after last night's Thursday night game and realizing where the state of the Broncos are at, I think they should be kind of nearing a retool or rebuild mode and kind of clean house. Von Miller's going to be a free agent. He doesn't really feel the same, even though he's still talented. We know he still has it in him. Doesn't really feel the same, has the injury concern. I don't think he's going to get paid nearly the amount that he'll probably think he's going to get paid. He'll probably get paid something decent, something pretty good. What would the Broncos get compensatory pick-wise? Yeah, probably a third, maybe a fourth-round pick, but that would be in 2023. You trade him now, I think you get more value, but if you don't, you get the same. If you get the same value, you get it right now. Second was too rich for me because it would be a rental. He has injury concern. He just got hurt last night. He's going to be fine, but it's still a little bit of a concern. How much does he have left in the tank? It's a risk for the other teams. So second seems too much. Third doesn't seem like enough. Third and maybe a sixth, something around there. Third and a fifth, something like that. Teams looking for pass rush help. They could use him. Not too many teams. That's the problem. Not too many teams can afford him. The Chargers could use him. He's a great fit. Could afford him. Don't see the Broncos trading him in division, though. So I don't think the Broncos extend him after this year. I don't know if they should either. I think they should build around their young guys. They're still looking for a quarterback. I think Jonathan Cooper looks pretty good too. Not that I'm relying on that, but Bradley Chubb, Cooper looks good for now. For next year maybe, but I'm sure they'll add somebody. So this makes sense to me. Get your pick now. And I think people will be surprised that he will. And I mean, all it takes is one team. All it takes one team to overpay. But I think people will be surprised that he won't get paid nearly as much as probably where you would match his value with. Raiders definitely could be buyers. I'm trying to figure out, who could they add? They could add a corner. Which corners fit them right now? They're available. They don't have a lot of cap space. I don't think they want another project in there. They could use a third down coverage linebacker, perhaps maybe, Nick Vigil from the Vikings if he's available. That's a guy that popped up for me. They could use an offensive lineman, specifically a right tackle who's available there. Could they make a call about Morgan Moses from the Jets? I think they would rather stick with what they got. It's tough to figure out. Trading Cleveland Farrell's name's popped up. He's played, less and less, even been a healthy scratch for a game or two there. And, he's been underwhelming. I think his value is only going to go down as they play him, the way they're playing him. And on top of because they added so many guys and they're set at the pass rush position, I think his value is only going to go down. Teams are pretty desperate for pass rushers. Could they even, since he has upside along with that, could they even draw a fourth? Probably not, but possible. I think you deal him now and get that pick. There really isn't for the Raiders, a must move that's realistic. You absolute must make this move. There's some teams like that in this video, so it's a little tricky here with them. Chargers, I like Brandon Cooks here, and they were in on, we talked about this on Twitter, we talked about this in another video, they were in on Akeem Hicks in the offseason, maybe around preseason, since he wanted to extension. The Bears weren't going to give it to him at that time, so they called, we need an interior guy here. So they could definitely get back in on that, and that definitely can help him, Akeem Hicks. They could use an edge rusher. They're looking for more of a 3-4 guy. Not a whole lot of those guys available. I'm sure more will become available. They can use a linebacker. Zach Cunningham we talked about in this video. I like Brandon Cooks for the Chargers. They need another receiver. As good as they are at receiver, they need another one. They need a guy that can get separation all over the field and specifically speed. Quickness and speed, they need that badly, I think. They're kind of lacking that. And he has that home run ability downfield that fits kind of Justin Herbert ball perfectly as well. I think, as much as you need defense right now, the identity of this Chargers team is offense, and this offense needs to be great every week because it can be. And if they're going to, at the end of the day, if the Chargers win the Super Bowl or they're there, why is it going to be? It's going to be because of offense. So that offense needs to be up to that level. And they're there Sometimes they disappear a little bit. I've been thinking it's because receivers. We saw earlier in the year receivers dropping balls in the red zone, not getting a lot of separation, missing speed. Saw it against the Ravens. Same thing. Herbert needed to get the ball out quicker, not guys getting separation. Seen some, even though they're good receivers, they're kind of missing this piece right here. So this would, I think, a guy like Brandon Cooks would make them a ton better. So I would love this for the Chargers. It's an interesting team though, because I think they'll try to make a move. I haven't heard anything about them trading for a receiver, but could be. But maybe a defensive lineman, linebacker, edge rusher, something like that. They should be involved. Doesn't mean anything. Guaranteed to happen though. Chiefs are definitely they're going to make a move, I think. They're in on Marlon Mack. They could add a running back. I don't know if it's completely necessary. Is it going to make or break the team? Edwards-Helaire will be back. They got other pieces, but I wouldn't be against it. I honestly think they could use a receiver. Sometimes it's just a bracket Tyreek Hill. No other receiver is going to beat us. And then even Tyreek Hill dropping some balls. Hardman fumble last week. I think we saw some mistakes by receivers over the last year. I think they can use another receiver. So that's interesting. But no, not many people would agree with me fully. But I think that again, they could be in the market for a running back. There's a bunch of different pass rushers they could be calling about. Talk about another video, Charles Omenihu from the Texans, like that. Couple of Panthers backup pass rushers, Marquise Haynes, Gross Matos if he's available. Emmanuel Ogbah, they had him at one point, but he could possibly. There's a long list of guys they could be trying to get. Derek Barnett makes the most sense to me. I think it gives them, some of those guys are kind of a maybe, will they have an impact? And Barnett isn't a full sure thing, but more of that. And the Chiefs are really struggling on defense. Stop the run and get after the quarterback. Barnett does both. Maybe not both at an extremely high level, but I think he balances it out, kind of does both at a pretty solid level. And the Chiefs, of course, are trying to win now. So I like this fit. It's something I can see them doing. Will the Eagles be willing to give them up? So one of those smaller guys might be more realistic, more likely to happen, but realistic makes sense to me. Talking about Brandon Cooks again, Niners desperately need a receiver. Ayuk's been a letdown. They don't have too much. Deebo Samuel's got to carry. I mean, the guy's ridiculous, but he's got to carry. They need somebody else. They need somebody else with speed to get separation, to get things going downfield as well, which they don't have right now. Brandon Cooks makes a lot of sense. Jamison Crowder, a lot of these teams where I think needs a receiver, those guys make a lot of sense. Cooks, Crowder, Devontae Parker's name's been brought up. I like Cooks and Crowder better for the 49ers. This would be huge. They need another receiver very badly. I was saying this in the offseason too. It's showing. They need it pretty badly. Deebo Samuel has been electric. He's been doing everything. He's one of the better receivers in football. He's carrying this group. You don't want a guy carrying the group. I hate to say it, such a fun player to watch. He has injury concern. If he goes down, what the hell are the 49ers going to do? But even if he is healthy, they need somebody like this. So something they need to make happen here for sure. One I feel strongly about. Cardinals went into the negative in terms of cap space so their move was Ertz. They traded for Ertz, called that one happening. It makes sense there. So they went in the negative. They restructured Jordan Phillips. It's not a pay cut, it's a restructure. They restructured Jordan Phillips' contract and clear a little bit of space, but they were in the negative. So they barely got even here. So I won't expect, it wouldn't be realistic for it to be a big move. Everybody wants to see their team make a big move in a video like this, but Rodney Hudson, one of the best, maybe the best center in football, goes down. He's going to miss 3 or so games, maybe 2 to 3 we'll call it from at this point, probably 2 more games. But go get a center like Austin Blythe from the Chiefs, who's a backup because Creed Humphrey looks so good. He was playing with the Rams last year. I think it makes sense. It's probably only going to be a small move for the Cardinals if they make a move and be a smaller corner. Their corner's been playing pretty good though. Under the radar guy, stepping up. Could use another safety, but again, not a lot of cap space. There was some snap problems, some chemistry problems maybe with Kyler Murray as well. But go get this guy because your star center's out. Yes, he'll come back. What if he goes out again? Just trying to find a small move for the Cardinals that is actually realistic here. But a pretty damn good roster right now, and that's why they're undefeated. So not a lot of needs here. Seahawks, Akeem Hicks. I thought about a pass rusher like Derek Barnett. Again, some of those pass rushers, I think they can use an interior guy. I think they're missing Jaron Reed. I think they're missing him. they're still stopping the run. They always do. They're still stopping the run. Maybe not as good without Jaron Reed, but close enough. It's mainly Poona Ford's a stud in there. They got the guys that can stop the run. They can coach the guys that stop the run. And Akeem Hicks, that's his main thing. He stops the run. So it would be even better to be back to kind of that elite Seahawks stopping the run. But where they're really lacking is interior pressure. So if they can go find a guy that can get interior pressure, because they got a load of pass rushers. None of them are that great. I really love Darrell Taylor where he's heading. He did get hurt last week as well. But they got a load of guys that they're not that great, but they can play. Interior pressure can make their job easier. So go get a guy like Hicks. Is it a rental? The Seahawks do have a lot of cap space in the future, so they can make it not a rental. I don't think it'd be as pricey as some people think either. So it's not like that's the done. That's their move. When it comes time to extend him, if that's the case. So I think it'll help them now. I guess the question is, are the Seahawks going to win anything now, though? Even with Russell Wilson. Yeah, at any given time, they can beat anybody with them. But are they really going to go win the Super Bowl? Do they want to be buyers right now? Like a big-time buyer for a guy like Hicks? Yeah, I think it makes him that much better. And they can extend him, use him for the future. He does have minor injury concern as well. And the Rams, the last one. About Bryce Callahan. People have been calling about the Broncos corners here. It's likely the Broncos don't want to trade Callahan. It's more of Fuller. Callahan could play slot and play outside. That kind of helps the Rams either way. Either way, they want to use them. They miss Troy Hill, and they're missing right now Darius Williams on the outside. I think he's a perfect fit with the Rams secondary, whether it's playing inside or out, playing both within a game. I think he'd be really good there. I mean, he is a really good nickel corner that also can play outside if you need him to. I think he'd be really good there, though, so that would make sense. They would have to clear a little bit of space. That's why I was tricky with the Rams. I was looking at guys, like a cheaper option like Mac Wilson, the linebacker from the Browns, because they could use an inside linebacker. But just another project that they already have. It's not a sure thing. Rams are trying to win now. Maybe like another guy from the Browns I thought about, Andrew Billings, who's a nose tackle. Possibility to help stop the run on early downs. Sure. They would have to clear a little bit of space for this, but I just really like the fit. I think they would be interested, and they could definitely use that corner, whether it's outside or the slot, which you get kind of 2-for-1 here. Obviously not at the same time, but that made sense. They value safeties. They like using multiple safeties at once. So if they can find kind of a do-it-all type safety to mix in there, because they played all those guys. They played Fuller. They played Rapp on top of John Johnson last year. They played all of those guys. So they could use another one. Jabril Peppers, Marcus May. I love them for the Rams. Love them. They don't have the cap space for those guys. Possible they can clear some space for Jabril Peppers. Possible. So maybe that's interesting. So Rams are a pretty interesting team because there's so many things they might be going after, but do they have the cap space? Can they make it work? But there's a lot of good fits out there, I guess, that can make them maybe that top contender or one of the top contenders, which they pretty much already are. So that wraps up this video. It's always a long one, these types of videos, but hopefully you guys enjoyed it. We'll see if any of these guys get dealt because I do think these guys are realistic to be dealt. We'll be talking more about this, more actual predictions. I think this will happen. We do that all the time as well, those types of videos. So we have you covered here, full NFL coverage. Like, subscribe, turn notifications on to join us for all that. We much appreciate. Follow our Twitter link down below. That would be huge for all constant NFL updates, always keeping you guys involved as well. It's going to do it, though. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.